Hello, I'm Dan.
And I'm Simon.
And this is the Wikicast, a podcast where Wikipedia takes us to a random article and we talk about what we find. Simon, what are we talking about this week?
This week, Daniel, we're talking about Greg Moore, parentheses, ice hockey.
Oh. Greg Moore. Ice hockey.
No relation, unfortunately, spelled M-O-O-R-E.
Yes, it so often is.
Yeah, the inferior spelling, as I would have it.
Absolutely.
Greg Moore, born March 26th, 1984, is an American professional ice hockey coach and former player. I've never once watched a game of ice hockey. Have you?
I think I've seen bits of ice hockey. In fact, when I lived in the Netherlands, I went to I would have been, I don't know, maybe 12? Somewhere between 10 and 12. And a friend of mine had a birthday party. It was a big group of kids and we all went curling, which was niche, but actually really fun. But in the same place, there was a load of ice hockey being played, and I remember just being completely blown away at how comically brutal and rough and physical it is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's literally a position called the enforcer. I only know that because there was a guy I went to uni with in my undergrad who was on the university ice hockey team, and he was a beast of a guy. And his only job as the enforcer was just to tackle people. At least that's how he told me what he did. Anyway, the thing that gets me is how on earth you can do really dexterous stuff and play a sport, like basically play field hockey, but whilst you're also ice skating.
Yeah.
I've never once been in a position where I felt like I could do any kind of subtle movement on ice skates. It's
so unlike if you watch figure skaters, or not even something as professional as that, but just watching people, over the Christmas period, they'll usually set up an ice rink somewhere and you can go and have a sort of scoot about. The way that they move on the ice is just amazing. It's so sort of fluid and
it's inhuman.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. And going backwards, and I remember there's those scenes from the US Office. Steve Carell is a really amazing ice hockey player.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he must have done it as a kid and a sort of teen, but yeah, he's got it all going on. He can move around very comfortably, and there was I think maybe one or two episodes where his character has to do some stuff on the ice, and it's quite impressive. And it's just it's coincidental that well, obviously they wrote it into the script because he's so good, but yeah, it's an amazing thing. I don't understand anything about the game though. I know that you can score points, but that's basically it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I tell you what, I do have another reference point for this, and that is the Pixar movie Inside Out, which is an excellent movie, and ice hockey is like a big part of it. Have you seen that?
Oh, yes, yeah. It's because is it like Canada and North US states? It's super popular, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like Wisconsin and places like that. Well, I mean, this guy, Greg Moore, was born in Maine, which, as I'm sure you know, is the easternmost state in the New England region of the northeast United States. But yeah, it borders Canada, so it's a very northern state. This guy, right, I was just sort of scanning through his article as we were talking, and there's a career statistics section, there's sort of a playing career bit, and his coaching career. He played for 4 teams, and these teams have bonkers names. One noticeably more bonkers than the others, right? So, because obviously in the UK, we have football teams that are like Manchester United or Brighton Hove and Albion. They're like location and some kind of organisation surrounded it. And there are some weird ones like Sheffield Wednesday and, I don't know, Tottenham Hotspur or something like that. But this guy played for the New York Rangers,
right? The
Columbus Blue Jackets, Augsburger Panther, and Grizzly Adams Wolfsburg.
Wow.
Grizzly Adams Wolf. Why are they called that? Right, so that's a German team. He played in Germany for a bit in the city of Wolfsburg. Why are they called Grizzly Adam? It doesn't say anywhere on their page about this.
That's crazy. Also, Augsburg. I've been to Augsburg.
Is Augsburg where it had something to do with? Oh no, not Augsburg. Sorry, Wolfsburg.
Ah,
is Augsburg where Bach was born?
Yes, and I went there with Chapel Choir last year.
Oh, yes, the German tour.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
No, Bach doesn't feature on Augsburg's wiki, so I think I'm wrong.
Fine. I'm trying to think. There's somebody that I remember being a fairly big sort of big deal. I think there was quite a famous meeting of popes, maybe.
Rudolf Diesel is from I keep wanting to say Augsburg.
There's a basilica, I'm sure, that's of note.
Holbein the Younger.
There you are.
The painter, because Holbein. Actually, no, hang on. Holbein the Elder which was the one that did the ambassadors. Was that the Holbein the Younger? I think it was him. Or maybe it's not. Oh no, I'm not talking out my arse. I was actually correct for once. That was Holbein the Younger, and Jacob Fugger the Elder, Saint Ulrich. Lots of people actually.
Yeah, this is right. So I've just gone to Augsburg. So I've been to Augsburg Cathedral, which is the Catholic cathedral, and the Basilica of Saints Ulrich and Afra. Both incredible buildings. Right. I'm fairly sure there's a statue to some. Oh gosh, I can't remember. That's really frustrating. But yes, really, really stunning, stunning place.
There's a sentence at the top of their wiki that's quite funny. It's like, according to Beringer, in the 16th century it became the dominant centre of early capitalism, having benefited from part of being the Kaiserlich Reichspost system as, quote, the location of the most important post office within the Holy Roman Empire.
Wow. Aim high.
I mean, if that's not a claim to fame, I don't know what is.
So he played in Germany, this guy.
He did, yes. This guy, Greg Moore, we should probably stop calling him this guy. I have his wiki right in front of me. Originally played for the University of Maine. Then he was in the NHL, the National Hockey League. Mm-hmm. Played in New York. Signed as a free agent for the Philadelphia Flyers. And then moved to Germany after, I think, about 5 years. 4 or 5 years in the American leagues. He moved to Germany, which seems to be like, I guess that's the hockey equivalent of someone like Wayne Rooney going to China or Messi going to America. Like, you go somewhere, it's like you get brought in as you definitely know what you're doing. You might get some bums in seats to watch us, and maybe we can develop the club type thing.
Or like where did Beckham famously go? He went to that American, was it the All Stars or something? Or
was it Los Angeles?
Yeah. Sounds right.
I don't know. Sports is one of those things, right? And I was funny. Pixel Wife was watching a show about this the other day. How it's not that I dislike sports. I do get quite excited about them. It's just that I don't I just don't particularly care about following sport most of the time.
No, I think I'm the same.
I don't have that drive in me to follow the Premier League or cricket or whatever it is.
I love watching. I'll happily sit down in front of the television or in a pub, and if there's some football on, particularly if it's Liverpool playing, say, then I thoroughly enjoy watching it and get very into it. But yeah, I don't have any interest in keeping like a mental record of what the league table is like and how many points of who's got how many points and what happens if somebody wins a game and where they go up or down. I don't do any of that. I think cricket's slightly different. I really enjoy watching cricket because it's so just. It's a totally different viewing experience, isn't it? And the way that you can engage with it's totally different too.
I wish I had a lifestyle that allowed me to engage in something as leisurely as cricket. It's the only thing less taxing than playing cricket is watching other people play cricket.
Yeah, it's just great. And I used to, having it on the radio. It's great listening to the cricket on the radio. That it's so.
Oh, that's that's a British cultural institution. I don't know. Maybe we haven't found the right sport. Maybe we need to find the sport that will actually, because there must be something. It's not. Although I say that, I was going to say everybody must have a sport that they're like, this is it. I want to follow this. But it does feel like some people, and my dad was like this. It would just be they would just follow all sport. It doesn't matter what it was, they would be interested in it. They would watch the rugby and the cricket and the football and the Formula One, and if the Olympics was on, or especially my mum liked the gymnastics or athletics championships or whatever. There's something in some people's brains that compels them to. I don't know, what even is it? Is it to stay on top of the news in a sport? Is it to know who's going to win the football? Is it who's trying in the football, or where players are moving? Like,
I don't know. I mean, I really love watching snooker, and I really love watching the rugby.
some very low energy sports and rugby.
I mean, snooker's brilliant because it's a tactician's game, isn't it? And the skill required is extraordinary. You know, if you're watching someone like Ronnie O'Sullivan play, it's just unbelievable. But I think maybe you're onto something with finding the right thing. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed that late evening we spent in the Ram University bar at the University of Exeter watching the Super Bowl, which I think is next weekend, isn't it?
That dates the episode. Yes, that was one of the most legendary Super Bowls in history. Yeah. It was the 2017 Super Bowl, I think, which was like the one where was it the Eagles had a massive comeback? It was like famous. Or was it the Patriots had a massive? Whatever it was like a really famous one.
Mm.
And we got too smashed to really follow what was happening.
It was brilliant. We had such a good time.
I had a fantastic time, but I don't think I had too much to do with the football. And I like American football. If I can, I will try and watch the Superb Bowl. I enjoyed watching it in the past. It's a question of whether Baby will let me watch it. I may be up anyway, but like every year I have said this is the year I'm going to follow the NFL, and again I have the same thing of I don't have the hook in me. I don't have the thing that draws me in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there is a sport out there. Like if people want to email in with suggestions of what sport you think I would enjoy, be my guest.
We've had lots of people write in, haven't we, about quite obscure sports that sound phenomenal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, was there one that was like wheelchair rugby or something?
Wheelchair rugby. We had we had underwater rugby.
Oh yes, yeah.
We've had several, but I mean,
Quidditch,
the only
of course.
thing. Oh yes, Quidditch. Gosh, that's going back a bit. The only thing that I've ever followed to any in the same kind of way has been recently. I've been following competitive Warhammer 40,000, which is strange because I don't play competitively. I don't like people who play competitively, and yet I'm still watching analysis of what like the latest balance changes means for the different factions, and hearing about what the current meta is and stuff like that. And I've watched hours of content about something that I'm not going to engage with myself. I don't know why. So I need to find whatever the sports version of that is. Of Warhammer 40k.
Yeah.
So hang on, let's just go back to this guy. He's the other interesting thing about this guy is that about Craig Moore. Learn his name. Is that he's done that transition from being a player to being a coach, which not everybody gets to do. Like there's a Sankey diagram there of like you can have 100 players and only one of them really gets to become a coach because there's fewer coaching positions available. Do you think if you're a professional sports person who used to play and you're on the bench watching people and coaching them, is there a part of you that just wants to be like, let me do it myself? Put me in, coach. Oh, wait, that's me.
I don't know, because it's so much more than just, dictating or advising on what a player or players do themselves or with each other in a single game. The whole planning of the training and how you're building your team and how you're, managing substitutes within football, famously a game of two halves, Simon.
Yeah.
But I think it's quite a big.
I could tell you watch a lot of football.
Yeah. I think it's quite involved. I mean, so Jurgen Klopp, who's just announced that he's leaving Liverpool, which is very sad because he's been pretty excellent, really. But I do think it must be quite a big job. But is it so big that it justifies the amount of money that surrounds football and soccer? Absolutely not.
No. Well, I mean,
I don't understand really, but yes.
Without wishing to get like too technical or philosophical even, like money just sort of means whatever we decide it means, right? Things only have value if we decide they have value. And enough people think that football is valuable that we can put a pound value on it, and more importantly, advertisers can put a pound value on it. And that's ultimately where all that money comes from. It's because it's something that draws in enough pairs of eyes and ears that advertisers can make money off of it, and that's the same thing with all the big things that we hold as being important in society, which are like big blockbuster movies, massive sports teams, so football or American football or what have you, music, like the things that are culturally valuable are the things that draw the most eyes for advertisers. If people want to learn more about that, by the way, because that also applies to sort of media in general and politics, I can highly recommend Noam Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent.
Yeah, excellent book.
Which is sort of makes this point.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm reading an excellent book. I can't remember if we talked about this previously, about not Merchants of Doubt, about Ministry for the Future.
That sounds dangerously like you might be leapfrogging into Critics' Corner, Simon.
Oh yes, sorry, we mustn't do that. I do have an idea of what we should discuss in Critics' Corner, actually, and I had a specific thing in mind.
Is there anything else you want to tell me about Greg Moore? He sounds like a fascinating chap, and I'm sure he's a wizard on the ice.
I can tell you that he is right wing in terms of his position on the hockey pitch.
Not
politically, it doesn't say.
Okay, to say.
He has a right shot, so I assume that means he's right-handed.
Right.
He is 6'1".
Okay.
And he weighs 210 pounds or 95 kilos.
Okay.
Or 15 stone, or approximately 8 Dan Moores.
Yeah. Right. Gosh, chunky boy.
He's currently the head coach of the Toronto Marlies. What's a Marley? I know he was dead in the beginning. Marley and Marley, your heart was painted black. Yeah, what the heck is a Marley? Is this a Canadian thing? We had an email last episode from Canada. Let's see. Explain, America, explain. What is a Marley?
I have no idea. Can you sort of find Toronto Marlies etymology? As part of its relocation to Toronto, the team was renamed the Marlies after the Toronto Marlboros or Marlboros.
Oh, and that must be named after a borough. Marlborough, surely.
Yeah, a group of Toronto sport. It was named after the Duke of Marlborough.
Where is Marlborough?
Isn't the Duke of Marlborough? Isn't that Churchill's family? Yeah.
Yes, I've just gone onto the wiki.
Huh? Crazy. Well, there you go. That's answered that.
So where is Marlborough? I'm still Marlborough is one of those places where I'm like, I know it's in the UK. My UK geography is so much worse than my international geography because I just sort of take it for granted. I feel like it's like there's somewhere in England, and it's like I have a rough idea of whether it's north or south usually, but I genuinely Marlborough is south central.
The Toronto Marlborough Athletic Club was founded in Toronto, and it was named. I want to know why it was named after him, though.
Yeah. Well, it must have been. It's some colonial nonsense.
But brilliantly, on the Wikipedia page, they don't explain the connection. They just say, "Oh, yeah, it's named after him." But why?
If it's to do with the British Empire, it's some colonial nonsense. He probably went over there and like stuck a flag in the ground or something.
To be fair, that is how it works. Famously, Eddie Izzard says so.
Yeah, that is how most British history works. Oh, Marlborough is south of Swindon. Shall I give you the most useful? If you're an international viewer, this will really help you nail down where Marlborough is. So draw a picture of the UK in your mind. It is south of Swindon, west of Reading, but north of Salisbury, and east of Warminster. South of Cal, but north of Devizes, and west of Chipping Norton.
So it's in Wiltshire, is it?
Yes, Wiltshire. I don't know what more you want from me, Dan. I really clearly nailed down where Marlborough is.
Directly east of Bath.
More or less, yeah. I'd say it was northwest of Tidworth.
I wonder where's the border then? Because Bath's not in Wiltshire, is it?
I can tell you where the border between Bath and Wiltshire is.
I'd love that.
I can tell you that because my dad technically passed away in Wiltshire. Because he passed away in Winsley, which was a cancer hospital. There's a cancer hospice there called Dorothy House, which is one of the most incredible places I've ever been in my life. Really extraordinary place.
Oh, yes, I see it.
And it was just over the border into Wiltshire. So Winsley is, again, listeners, it's east of Bath, but west of Bradford-on-Avon, east of Norton St Philip, and about due north from Rode.
I see.
Which is to say, it's northwest of Trowbridge and southwest of South Wraxall.
Oh, it's northeast of Peasdown St John.
Yes.
Yes, and White Ox Mead. And Hinton Charterhouse.
Hinton Charterhouse. It lies about equidistant between Hinton Charterhouse and Great Cumberwell.
We live in such a ridiculous country.
I love it. And then we went and inflicted this ridiculous country on many other countries around the world. We're like, these names make too much sense. I'm happy. I love the names in the West Country. I absolutely adore the fact that I can walk to somewhere called Limpley Stoke.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or, that there are so many. And for some reason, in like Somerset in particular, like this part of the UK, and I'm sure everybody has their own thing about this, but the Somerset and Devon and places like that have just wonderful names like Farrington, Gurney, Nebnet, Thrubwell, Clutton, Peasdown, St John. There were loads. There was a bus that used to leave from Exeter that would take you places like Ottery St Mary, but you could also go to like Clist St Mary, Newton Poppleford, Budley Salterton, of course.
Famously.
Where else? I'm looking at the map at the moment. Wimple, Aylesbury, Collerton, Raleigh, Dulwich, Dawlish Warren.
Dawlish Warren is fab, isn't it?
Oh, it's just, yeah.
These are just a selection of some of the funniest UK place names.
Oh, go on, hit me with it.
They include Bitchfield, Netherwallop, Curry Mallet, Barton in the Beans, Droop, Boggy Bottom, and Shitterton.
It's Boggy Bottom, Boggy Bee.
Oh, and of course in Yorkshire, I nearly went to this school. Giggleswick, North Yorkshire. Yeah.
Well, and I suppose the thing to mention is like we have all these silly names, and they're silly because the UK has so many lexical influences. Like it's a melange of like Viking influence and Anglo-Saxon and Norman and Latin and Celtic and Gaelic. Like there's so many that like you're exposed to words and phonemes that you wouldn't necessarily hear in like everyday language. I get that must be why.
It's fab. I love it.
Well, you know what else is fab, Dan, and I look forward to it every single episode, is hearing about your choral piece of the week.
And this will be my piece of the week. Drum roll, please. Ah, yes. Choral piece of the week. Well, unlike last episode, I've actually come prepared because on the sort of
I love the PowerPoint.
Semi-near horizon, there's a particular performance of a particular piece that I'm really looking forward to. In fact, I need to sort out tickets, and of course, it's a Lenten classic. It's Bach's St John Passion.
St John Paxman.
Yeah, St John Paxman.
Let's get on with it. Here's your first movement for 10 minutes.
Yes, so there's a particular performance I have in mind. Westminster Cathedral Choir will be performing Bach's St John Passion on the 14th of March, Thursday the 14th of March, and I'm very excited because it will be brilliant and the soloist will be fab, and what better venue to have St John Passion than in Westminster Cathedral. So yes, my choral piece of the week, Bach's St John Passion. If you don't know it, don't be put off by the size. I don't just mean in length, but in the scale of the work. It's just unbelievable music, and yeah.
Now, before I lower my zipper, I just want you to know, if you don't know it, don't be put off by the size, okay? Once you've got past the first, couple of movements, you might start to enjoy it.
Normally I'm a soloist, but on this occasion, I thought we might make it an ensemble affair.
Oh, boys! People get quite particular about like the St John Passion in particular, because it's like Bach wrote the St John Passion and the St Matthew Passion. There is only the two, isn't there?
I think he only did the two, yeah.
And and for people that don't know, it's basically the story of Jesus being crucified. That's sort of the spoiler alert. But there's lots of different ways you can tell that story. And is it St John that was like cobbled together more over like his lifetime, and St Matthew was like at the end of his life he sort of wrote it more coherently? Is that the difference?
That sounds plausible. Yes, I'm sure we've got readers who are screaming the answers there.
I know that there's a difference between them, Yeah, because some people prefer Matthew because it feels more cohesive and like a bit more polished, I think. Whereas some people prefer the St. John Passion because it feels a bit more, I don't know, a bit more human, maybe. Which I have to admit, I've never listened to the St. Matthew Passion in great detail, but I really like the St. John because I was lucky enough to record the University Chapel Choir performing it. I don't think you were performing then. I don't think.
I don't think so. I think I might have gone along to. Oh, hang on, no, wasn't I on one of the cameras?
It was me and Kit, I believe, who were on the cameras for that.
Oh, right. I wonder what I did. I did something for you, I think, but yeah, I think I might have been in the audience.
Oh, right.
It's very good. Yeah, I've just found a note here. Compared with the St. Matthew Passion, the St. John Passion has been described as more extravagant, with an expressive immediacy, at times more unbridled and less finished.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Bach, because I find I adore Bach's music, but sometimes it does almost feel like it's been written by a robot. It's like that's exactly the perfect note, and that's and the interpretation of it by a lot of performers is often that you perform it a bit like a robot, and you do sometimes lose that human quality to it. And it's why, for example, I really like Handel for that reason, because I think Handel, you don't get that. It's very similar to Bach in terms of in some ways in terms of style, but it feels very exuberant and human and sort of joyful. Whereas some Bach, I'm not saying this is all of it, but like some of it lacks that. And I like St. John because it does feel a bit more like a human wrote it.
Yes.
Whereas I should give the St. Matthew a bit more of a try. It's one of those. It's meant to be one of those absolute masterpieces that I obviously just haven't quite cracked. Although, actually, funny that I should say that, I am performing in a couple of months' time. I've just been asked to sing chorus for a piece I'd never heard of before. Have you ever heard of The Choice of Hercules by Handel?
No, I haven't.
No, I'd not. I think it's about 45 minutes. It's quite a short oratorio. There's only, I think there's only about 5 chorus numbers in it, and they're all quite short.
Chorus numbers makes me think of like lots of high kicking and sort of long dresses hitched up to above the knee. Presumably, it's not that kind of performance.
Yeah, from the waist up, it's Baroque, and from the waist down, it's rock and roll.
From the waist down, it's the producers.
It's
Mel Brooks all over it.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think considering the audience, there may be a lot of Zimmer frames dancing into the into Bath Abbey. But I love that scene so much. So silly. But yes, I'd not heard of this before. It's another Handel oratorio. I mean, I know he wrote a lot. Actually, how many? Guess. Go on, guess. How many oratorios do you think Handel wrote?
Oh gosh, I have absolutely no idea. I would imagine the number could be described as prolific.
Yeah, he wrote 42 operas and 24 oratorios.
Gosh.
God, he was a busy boy. I mean, I imagine a lot of that was churned out just to keep debtors away.
I mean, it's nice to have a hobby, isn't it?
Is that what people said to him at the time?
Yeah.
It's like, and this is George, who's got a new opera. Oh, it's nice that you've got a hobby, George. It's like, I'm one of the most respected composers of all time. It's like, yes.
That's right.
What's this one about? Something from ancient Greece.
Here we go again.
But excellent. Okay, cool. So your pick of the week is the St. Matthew Passion.
The St. John Passion, yes.
Wait, hang on.
My pick of the week is the St. John Passion.
Is that the one they're doing in Westminster?
Yes.
I thought you said it was.
No, we started talking about the Matthew in relation to the John, but the John is what's happening on the 17th of March.
Yes. So Dan's choral pick of the week is going to the John.
Yes. Yeah.
Music to our ears. So Dan, in Critics Corner, I've sort of spoken recently, I said earlier I've been reading this book, which has been very interesting. But I wanted to get your take on something because I know that you're an Apple fanboy.
Yes.
And I know that you worked at the Apple store.
Yes.
What is your take on the Apple Vision Pro?
Oh, yes. Now, I'm very proud of you, actually, because you called it the Apple Vision Pro, which is what it's called. Whereas when we've discussed this previously... You've managed to get it wrong nearly every single time. That sort of...
I don't know what you mean.
The Chuckle Vision Apple, I don't know. I mean, gosh, all we do...
The Apple Vision Pro Plus.
Yes, that's it, yeah. The Apple Vision Pro Plus, yeah. I think it's very interesting. I haven't seen... I've watched one or two reasonably sort of detailed reviews of the device in question. I think it's comically expensive... I think it's
$3,500. Is that right?
Something like that. Yeah. I think it's almost ludicrously cumbersome, particularly with the battery pack you have to carry around if you're not plugged into the mains, and even then you only get 2 hours with the battery pack. I think the tech inside the thing is absolutely extraordinary, and I think it's a very exciting step into spatial computing. I would love to go to a store and try one, particularly experiencing what it's like to watch a film, because it's just going to revolutionize. I think the cinema and watching things on the big screen in a dedicated building is going to be eclipsed by this tech that's coming out, particularly with the resolution that films are being produced at now. Very cool, very exciting. I'm never going to buy, not the first one anyway, but if you think about it, it's like when the first iPhone came out, it was completely different, and then suddenly it paved the way for touchscreen, getting rid of the keyboard entirely. That was pretty revolutionary, and I think what this is going to do now is just encourage other developers to start looking into their own takes, which is only going to slowly reduce the price, make it more accessible. We went from the iPhone being incredibly premium and cutting edge to now, you can purchase an iPhone SE, the most sort of standard phone they sell, for a really, really reasonable price.
But the iPhone does remain a premium item. Like, it's still over £1,000 for the new iPhone.
Oh, sure. But that's if you're buying the new Pro iPhone, right? If you're wanting an iPhone, but you're not bothered about it being, all singing, all dancing, incredible, then I forget what the iPhone SE retails at. In fact, if you're not buying, particularly if you're not buying it new, I think you could probably get one for about £200 if you bought it secondhand. But yeah, I think it's interesting.
See, do you think you'd buy one the second or third generation?
I don't know.
If the use case is because actually that's I suppose the better question is, what would you use it for? Like, genuinely day to day, what do you think you'd use that technology for?
I think until I try it and understand its sort of utility for a business case, I can't see me really using it that heavily for business.
Because the idea is that you can have multiple screens, right? You can sort of sit down and you have it's almost like Minority Report. The idea is that you have the different screens around you in space.
Yeah, and they integrate with other products. So you can beam your laptop, your MacBook, whatever it is, Air, Pro, Standard, you can beam that display into your headset while also using the headset sort of apps dedicated so you can just have an entirely place your set. Yeah, I guess that's why spatial computing is really the only way to describe it. I don't know how much I would use it for work. I would imagine I would use it quite a lot for sort of watching films or just sort of relaxing and just doing sort of personal work, as opposed to sort of business stuff, working through spreadsheets and things. Although I've seen and read reviews of how much better it is if you connect to a wireless keyboard as opposed to trying to type with the sort of the spatial keyboard. But I think until I've tried it, I don't really know. The augmented reality and full virtual reality stuff is really cool, and I can see sticking a pair of AirPod Pros, let's say, and putting them into noise cancelling, putting your Vision Pro on. That's it. You can completely block out, zone out. Imagine on flights, it would be pretty amazing just to be able to sit back in your chair and watch an enormous film or completely eclipse everything around you, and
Yeah, I can see that as
it's interesting, but I think the problem is at the moment is that a lot of these reviewers are trying to review something when they don't have really anything to compare it to or any sort of reasonable comparison, which makes the review sort of not a review. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like thoughts on it, because to review it, you've got to have some sort of, well, what is it trying to do and be? And I don't think anyone really knows yet.
Yeah, it's like if you gave a tech journalist in the 90s an iPhone, they'd be like, well, these are the specs and this is what it can do, but I don't. How on earth is this actually going to function? Which I think is Marques Brownlee made the interesting point. That's it's the most interesting thing Apple's made for a while because it's entirely different and because it's got big downsides and we don't know what the upsides are. It's genuinely an interesting piece of tech to cover.
Yeah. Also, it's hard to review something where a lot of the stuff that you want to be testing and trying is only limited to stuff within Apple's remit. Like you can't watch. I think it's Disney. I think Disney Plus and Paramount Plus are integrated into the headset at the moment, but I don't think you can watch Netflix unless you access it from within a browser within the the headset, or YouTube, for instance, doesn't have its own dedicated Vision Pro OS, so then it's hard to see, because then basically what you're doing is looking through a browser with a VR headset on, in which case then you can compare it to the Oculus Rift or Facebook's Meta thing. I forget what that's called, but yeah, it's interesting.
I'm going to make a prediction, Dan, and I'm going to base this off of previous eras of technology that have tried to be disrupted, because at the end of the day, this is trying to disrupt the AR VR market, like in terms of headsets, in the same way that you had previously Blu-ray and VHS, trying to disrupt the home entertainment market. I wonder if it will sink or swim, the Apple Vision Pro Plus, based on whether or not it will allow you to watch pornography. Because that is why VHS won over Betamax, and it's why Blu-ray won over HD DVD. Like, that was why those products succeeded, whereas their competitors didn't.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of the success of this product is going to come down to that use case.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, but I don't know how much VR stuff that's around already has disrupted that particular market. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know, because I don't own a VR headset.
No.
I've never had that experience, Dan.
Nor have I.
So
hey, that could be the next video.
We both say very quickly.
Next video for Spongy and Electric. Yeah. There you go.
But the benefit of the Vision Pro Plus is that it has that teleconferencing thing. So what you could do, could you share a scene? Is this just like the holodeck with extra steps from Star Wars? Where you load up a program and your mate's like, "Oh, can I join?"
So something that is new and completely unique, I think, to the Apple Vision Pro Plus is that you can do I think they call it spatial video.
Oh, yes, because you can move through it. Yeah, so it's like a holodeck. It is literally like a holodeck from Star Trek.
Yeah. How it works is that it still displays what looks like a 2D. The best way of describing it is within the virtual space, it looks like you're looking through a window. And as you move your head left to right, bits of the room that you're peering into appear, which you sort of get with certain certain wallpapers on phones now. You can get like an illusion of depth. With using the accelerometer in the phone. I think it's sort of doing that. It's not quite at the point of it's completely, it's doing 3-dimensional video. But that would be an interesting thing, because that combined with the particular market that we've just been discussing, that would be fairly game-changing, right?
Surely there is a market for that. Like, surely that is a thing.
Oh, definitely.
That if people are willing to spend, the kind of person who's going to spend $3,500 on this product would want that. Because I know that it's one of my favourite words, and it's forever in my search history now. There is such a thing as the field of teledildonics.
Okay.
Which is sex toys that connect to each other from a great distance, sort of over the internet type thing. And is that where the Apple Vision Pro Plus is going to go?
Sounds like a period of dinosaur.
Yes, the teledildonic era. That was when sauropods were particularly dominant, I think. But is that what people are going to do? They're going to combine like sex toys with an internet connection with this kind of tech, and I'm not even being really superlative here. I genuinely think that is going to be a sink or swim moment for this kind of technology, and how much Apple will let people do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I was curious, because I'm not an Apple fanboy. I've never had an iPhone, so I've never been in the ecosystem, whereas I know you have. You know how that ecosystem works.
Yes, yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens, over the next. Certainly, I mean, how people respond over the next year and what they do the following year. It'll be interesting. Yeah, very interesting. And how the market responds to that's, I think, going to be even more interesting than just particularly how Apple are doing it, because sort of they can do their own thing and hype it up as much as they like, but
yeah, what do other manufacturers do?
Yeah.
Well, with that and our mandatory discussion of pornography now finished, shall we go and thank some people, Daniel?
Let's do it.
Top lad, Okay, well, we find ourselves in Patreon Corner. This is just a brief part of the show where we like to say thank you to the people who listen to the show and who make it possible by supporting us at patreon.com/the Wikicast. And people choose to support us at either $1 a month, or if they're being very generous, $5 a month. And that goes towards paying for our hosting, paying for our wonderful editor, Fergus. And we will hopefully... Everything is just very complicated at the moment between Dan and I's lives, but we've been trying to organise Dan coming here to open some of the posts that people have been sending us, and it was going to pay for Dan's travel for that. So, it's all the fun stuff. The people who support us on Patreon allow us to make the show and do all the fun stuff.
Absolutely right. So I would like to say an enormous thank you to those who support at the obvious primo pet of choice tier top dog. So without further ado, thank you to Jay Wright, Ben McMurtry, Codzo, Colin J. Brown, Lexi at Front Desk, Henry VII, King of England and of France, Lord of Ireland, Aaron Jorgensen, Naflarok, Andrian with an N, Chan, Ben Caples, Martin Narciso, Lexi at Front Desk's boss, Amy Bonney, Sophie, Carnav, I'm stuck in a PhD and I blame Simon, Dan Nelson, Riley Stray, and Gentle Grudge.
Whereas I would like to thank the people very sensibly supporting at top cat level. And I've got a bone to pick with somebody in the audience because somebody has signed up to top cat as top dog.
Cheeky.
Now, I don't know how I feel about this, but I now have to say thank you very much to top dog. I see what you've done there. Christopher Betterton, Cole Mansfield, Dame Valerie III, Dan Hanvey, Isabella, Izzy CC, Jack Easton, James S, Layla Medina, Lexi at Front Desk's arch enemy, Nuffy Iftikhar, Oliver Burkhart, Rents Kirk, Simon P, The Kyrene on Caffeine, Will Janice Humphreys, Anna Reifer, Lord Lewis Bassingdale of Anitsford and its surrounding provinces, and Nathan Flaherty. I'm not sure how I feel about this, Dan. This feels like deception. Lies, even.
I like it. I think it's good. It's very good.
Top lad.
And in a slight break from scheduled broadcasting, we're making a return. We're just dusting off a particularly old tome.
Sorry, it was all the
see.
dust.
Oh, right. I thought something horrible had happened.
Sorry, it's just the dust.
It's Crisis Corner. It's made a return.
Good grief, Dan. After all this time. Always.
Simon, you've had a missive in.
You have your mother's eyes. Yes. Sorry. Sorry.
How disappointing.
It's that post. It's the Harry Potter poop where every single time anyone says anything of importance is just, you have your mother's eyes.
That's good.
I haven't thought about that video in a very long time. Oh my god. Okay. Yes. Okay. Breathe. Okay. Right. Yes, we have a missive here from Anony Chocolate Mousse.
Very good.
Actually, what they've written is Anony Chocolate Mousse. There's an accent aigu on the last E. By the way, Dan, last episode, I was certified A2 in French. I am now officially not the bottom tier possible of being able to speak French.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, it's through an app. It's through Busu, so it's not necessarily going to get me a job in the European Parliament.
How are you finding the app, out of curiosity? Because I'm trying to get back into French.
I love it. This is not sponsored. If Busu, if you want to sponsor us, what the you thinking? Busu, my experience with language learning apps, I've had Duolingo and I've had Busu. And Duolingo I found was really useful for learning vocabulary, but that was it. It didn't teach me grammar in the slightest. And I really like Busu because it's much more structured. You have sections that you go through with multiple lessons in each section, then there'll be a point to it. It will be like, we're going to learn how to use the passé composé or adverbs or the imparfait or whatever it is, and there are different lessons within that, and then there's a resource where you can practice either your grammar as a whole, or you can pick a specific thing like adjectives or gendered pronouns or whatever it is, and you can practice just those things.
Interesting.
I really like it. I think it's really, really good. Right. And I've been doing it now for the year and a bit, I think. Yeah, would highly recommend. Really, really good app. Anyway, Anony Chocolate Mousse has written in saying, Dear Simon and Dan, I have been diagnosed with ADHD since year 4. So hang on, that's 9-year-old, I think, year 4. and have been put on almost every medication for focusing. All of them caused me to lose my appetite completely. So I did not eat lunch during the week, and my personality would be muted and empty. I decided a year and a half ago in year 10 that being off meds completely was the best course of action for the time being. I then finished GCSEs with good grades, so continued. However, now being in lower sixth, I have been struggling with organisation and my grades have fallen through the roof. I tried to study, but with all the self-study time that A-levels bring, I find it hard to stay on track and get distracted. I'm weighing up my options, but can't decide. Is it worth it to take meds again, or should I keep going down this path? I feel nothing I try works in terms of studying, schedules, rewards, and whatnot. Kind regards, a nonny chocolate mousse.
Gosh, that's a challenging one, isn't it? I mean, I suppose the first thing to say is that it's great that you're aware and you notice and are aware to the point that you would write in. We can try and give some of the some advice that we think is good, but obviously it's not going to be it's not guaranteed to provide all of the answers. I think that while there is a lot of self-study time through A levels and indeed international baccalaureate, as I was, I'm sure there are many readers who also did the IB, it's completely appropriate to ask for assistance in structuring that self-study time in a way that works for you, with your sort of teachers and those in positions of sort of authority at school. I think a lot of self-study time is often viewed as just being like, okay, fend for yourself. That's it. That's just how it works, which to an extent is true. But, if you think about it, there are lots of sessions and things, certainly when I was doing my IB, that were meant to encourage, optional lunchtime sessions to encourage good study routines and study habits and understanding how long you can focus on for a given time before you start to, you're not really being as efficient as you would like. I know that unless I am absolutely sort of tunnel visioning into something, and usually that's down to I've got a real interest in it or I'm working to a deadline, I can't focus for huge chunks of time without sort of just drifting off. So I might do, I don't know, maybe I might do an hour of something. If I'm not really, as I say, tunnel visioning, then I'll do an hour and then maybe, I don't know, go and have a leg stretch, make a cup of tea, 15 minutes, then come back and go in. But I think it's totally okay to ask for some guidance there from teachers. I don't know, what do you think, Simon?
Well, I think it is important to stress that everybody finds that transition more difficult than I think you expect. Like, I just don't think people are given enough support, or at least I certainly wasn't, in terms of that journey towards being a more independent learner. So, for one thing, as Dan says, you're not alone in going through this. I also totally sympathise with your misgivings about being on medication, because I was on antidepressants for quite a while, and I recognise, you feel very muted. It has these strange effects on your personality. You don't really feel like yourself. Everything just sort of seems a bit kind of grey. So I get that feeling completely. And I came off of those gradually because I felt like I could manage with the behaviours and with the situation that was causing me to feel anxious and depressed in the first place. And obviously with you are finding that that's not happening as much as you'd like, at least. It's not to say it's not happening at all, but I'm sure that you are managing more than you would have done had you not attempted all of these strategies. I think on the one hand, as Dan says, there are strategies that you can try that maybe you haven't tried yet. I would encourage you to consider, to not think about this as a binary. It's not, I'm going to go on this medication or I'm going to basically raw dog it and just try and go cold turkey. I would, if you haven't already, absolutely encourage you to have another chat with your healthcare professional, your doctor, whoever that is, about the options available to you, because maybe there's a lower dosage that you can go on to. Maybe now that you're older, there's a different treatment path that you can go on. But I think what's clear is that the two options that you have tried so far recently have not worked particularly well for you. And if my experience is anything to go by, there's a lot of options out there in terms of treatment for psychological or psychiatric conditions like this. So I'm sure that in the past you absolutely have spoken to doctors. Obviously, you've tried different medication, but I wonder if your new situation and being in sixth form, being a bit older, might give you some more options. But I would absolutely say don't just research different drugs on the internet. Certainly don't try and get stuff over the counter just to try and treat this. It's so important when it comes to your mental health and psychoactive substances in particular to do as sort of the healthcare professionals tell you to do. Like, it's something to mess around with, basically. So consider what your other options are, but make sure that before you do anything, you consult with people who really do know this stuff and want what's best for you. Because at the end of the day, that is what your doctor, what your healthcare professionals want. They're not the man or anything like that. They want to try and help you. And I know from experience that it doesn't always feel like that, but that is genuinely the case. So talk to them, trust them, consider if there is a third path out of this, basically. That would be my 2 cents. I hope that was a little not completely useless.
Well, I think it's quite sort of, it's good, isn't it? Because on the one we've tackled one thing from the perspective of what could be done to try and help from a school perspective, and what you can do to try and help from a sort of more personal health perspective. So I think maybe a combination of those two things. There are options. I think, Simon, you said it rightly in thinking like it's not just there's not going to be any one binary solution.
Yeah. Well, Dan, we do actually have another email. So shall we pop on over to correspondence? I bit my tongue whilst I was saying.
I heard that. Are you all right?
I just bit my tongue. Sorry. Shall we head over to correspondence corner? Sylvester. Where's that Tweety bird gone?
Oh man, that's got me. We haven't had one of those moments for a long time.
All it took was me mutilating myself. You think after 33 years of my life I'd be able to talk without biting my own tongue?
Yeah, and yet here we are.
But no.
Suffering succotash.
Let's head on over to correspondence corner.
Gosh, extraordinary work. Well done. We have an email here titled Natural Views, Pub Quizzes and Steamed Hams. It reads, Good day, gentlemen. I hope that you both had an enjoyable Christmas/New Year period. On the topics mentioned in the last episode, I have the following suggestions. On the subject of natural wonders of the world, perhaps I could suggest the fabled view from the only mountain to exist on the country I shall call home. Snaefell on the Isle of Man.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, cool.
Snaefell, pronounced Snaefell, which translates from Old Norse as snow mountain.
It what?
What?
Sorry, what?
What?
Which what from Old Norse?
Which translates as Old Norse.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. All right, carry on.
What's wrong with that?
It translates.
This is bloody pole again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Polegate or Polegate.
I mean, the last episode you suddenly turned into a farmer, so I'm gonna take your comments about my pronunciation with a bag of salt. Snaefell.
Careful with that salt mine.
Snaefell, pronounced Snaefell, which translates from Old Norse as snow mountain, stands at 2,037 feet tall, barely clearing the height requirement to classify as a mountain, which is generally defined as 2,000 feet. And there is a link to mountain.
That's I think a Munro is technically over 2,000 feet. That's to be a proper big boy mountain in Scotland rather than just kind of hill. Then yes, you've got to be over 2,000 feet.
The vaunted reason for climbing or taking the nearly 130-year-old electric tram up to the summit is to see 7 kingdoms all at once. Perhaps you could both hazard a guess as to what they are.
Okay, first, I'm just distracted by the 130-year-old electric tram. That's amazing.
That is cool.
I really want to go to this place now. All 7 kingdoms. Okay, so that is Dawn.
Yeah, very good.
The Riverlands.
Yeah.
The North. The Iron Islands. The Neck. I can't remember all the mountains. So hang on, 7 kingdoms. So that's got to be
Ireland, Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Scotland.
Yeah. Wales.
England.
That's 5. Didn't like Denmark or Norway own some spits of land in the Irish Sea at one point?
Sure.
So I wonder if it's I wonder if it's something like that. Could you technically, or did you used to be able to see the Kingdom of Denmark or something?
Maybe.
Go on, put us out of our misery, Dan.
To aid international readers who want to play along, the Isle of Man exists slap bang in between the majority of the UK and another island. So we have the United Kingdom. Scotland is actually the closest part of the adjacent isle, then England and Wales.
Mm-hmm.
Both islands then follow suit. Of course, that leaves 2 more, so we got the 5.
For those members of Gryffindor who are very good at clapping whilst doing maths in their head, that leaves 2 more countries.
With the surrounding land masses eliminated, that just leaves the sea, Neptune's, or more appropriately perhaps Manahan's kingdom, the mythical sea god, namesake of the island, and the kingdom of heaven right above. These, of course, being somewhat dependent on personal belief. I like it. Look, I like it. It's good.
Jog on. That's...
You won't find this gorgeous view anywhere else, and as long as it isn't fogged up, fact of life on small rocks surrounded by sea, I'm afraid, or windswept that day, I'd fight Snæfell's Corner for a seat at the natural wonder table any day, on a good day when it isn't cold or wet or windy.
Right, so you can see 5 kingdoms. I feel cheated. James, I want those minutes of my life back. I probably waste them anyway. Fine, continue.
I like how you were like, oh, it's probably going to be Denmark, actually. I think it's Denmark.
Oh, is that what I sound like?
Only in my head, dear. Moving on to the subject of pub quizzes, I'd very much like to recommend the speed quizzing app for the purpose if a weekly or monthly event were to be organised in future. This is a faster spin on the traditional pub quiz, usually requiring split-second answering to gain maximum points. I like the sound of it. Speed quizzing.
Yeah, I like that.
I have come to be quite familiar with this app, having... Sorry,
C-3PO.
Yes. Sorry, it took me a moment there just to...
I have come to be quite familiar with this app, having been fluent in 6 million forms of communication.
Having attended several pub quizzes with some colleagues from my new college, having started a degree in nautical science last September. Wow.
Hang on, do you think C-3PO, in the Hot Fuzz universe, could C-3PO translate for the really West Country farmer? Because if so, I want to see that version of Hot Fuzz.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I bet.
Does he also do the jog on, but with his limited hand motion? Like,
off grasshopper.
Jog on. Yeah. If you want to be a big If you want to be a big copper in a small town, off down the model village.
If you want to be a big small. Yeah, nice. I've seen the film as well. Reading the speed quizzing documentation online, it says you can create your own question sets, and player numbers for the speed quizzing web version can apparently be up to 200.
Oh, wow, okay.
Although the formats of questions appear much reduced than the pub-centric local connection version, which I'm used to, which is... Oh, sorry, all of my intonation there was completely wrong. Although the formats of questions
stopped us so far. Just carry on.
Reduced than the pub-centric local connection version, which I'm used to, which is a shame. Nailed it. Finally, following the steamed hams reference, which graced the episode, I wanted to ask if either of you have seen a version posted in 2022 which animated each scene in a different animation style. Yes, I have, and it's fantastic.
It's so good. We'll link this in the show notes if people haven't seen it. It's fantastic.
Looking forward to all the content to come from you both this year. Perhaps I can send you another postcard with some of the Snæfell Vista. Kind regards.
Oh!
James S.
Oh, so we have a postcode. So we have a small pile of things at my office, Dan, that I really do want to open. I've been itching to open the letters and parcels that we've been given. And that's going to be a video on our Spongy and Electric YouTube channel. We've really got to get a date in the calendar for this. Also, interestingly, Dan, James has given us a postscript with the Apple Vision Pro launching. And the pair of you having discussed what the options for glasses wearers would be in a previous episode, I just wanted to let you know, Apple has partnered with Zeiss.
Yes.
So it's all capitals. So Apple has partnered with Zeiss to produce what they call optical inserts to provide precision optics for people who require vision correction. I totally forgot that we talked about it before. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, but they do cost quite a bit. In addition to...
An Apple product costing a lot. Shocked, Dan. Shocked.
Can't believe it.
I will not believe it. A day may come. No, I'm not going to do the whole speech.
So, Simon, what have we learned today?
Today, Dan, we have learned about that guy who is, of course, Greg Moore, parentheses, ice hockey,
yes.
Who played for, amongst others, Grizzly Adams Wolfsburg. And then we went to talk on about Augsburg for quite a while. And we had a pretty wide-ranging discussion at the start of the podcast. Not entirely to do with ice hockey, but not entirely not to do with ice hockey.
Yeah, which is sort of the house style, I think.
Yes. And then we had a discussion of the merits of the different passions by J.S. Bach.
Yeah.
And we talked at some length about the Apple Vision Pro. Yes. Remembered the name.
Well done. Simon started chewing off his own tongue.
Yes, I absolutely did.
And we made a return to Crisis Corner.
Yes, if people would like to write in with a crisis that they are going through and you'd like some terrible advice from us, it could be a real crisis you're going through, or it could be something that you've made up. You could be writing as Princess Leia. Perhaps the Wikicast is her only hope. But if you'd like to send us in a crisis, then please do. We'll give you the email address now.
spongyelectric@gmail.com.
And that's all for this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice, join the Discord, and if you'd like to see our faces, check out our Instagram.
Sport recommendations, crises, and other thoughts on the show can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole,
And we'll see you next time.